What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today is Monday, March 23rd. It's currently 8:25 a.m. PST. So yeah, let's get into everything that happened today. So overnight session, market pumped up crazy. I'm sure you guys saw that. Yeah, it pumped up like 900 points. So it kind of made the market a little bit funky today. But how did I trade this? What did I do? What did I see? Yeah. So up here at the top, I made $14.94 on my 3 accounts right here. These are brand new accounts because I blew 3 accounts this morning from tilt, not locking myself out, and yeah. So I caught one little trade on these just to get it over with, and yeah. But why did I go into tilt? What happened? And all that stuff. So really quick, here's New Week opening gap. We came down, swept out some liquidity, and then pumped up. So market pumped up because Trump announced a pause in the war, which ultimately made market pump up. So this gap right here, I believe, is a 4-hour gap that we not only swept out liquidity here, but we tapped into this gap, right? So we tapped into the gap, and that's also a 1-hour gap too. So market pumped up, taking out basically all of these draws, leaving us, higher draws above into another 4-hour gap. So there's kind of just this limbo area right here for market to target. And this is a huge area right here for market to retrace back into. This is 580 points of a gap that he would have to go back down. So the way I traded this was I went down to a way smaller time frame. So I was trading like 1 minute and 30 second and 15 second because these candles are huge and there's not really like a flow to the market after we've already swept out all of this liquidity. So coming into market open, I was looking at kind of a trend. So yes, we tapped back into this 1 minute right here, leaving behind this draw, and that was pretty much it. So right here would be market open, right at kind of like right here, market open, and we didn't really do anything. We kind of just chopped around in a range. And what I was looking for was either a breakdown to take this out to come back up, which on the 1 minute we had kind of this stacked set of gaps right here that we bounced off of, so shorts didn't really look good. On the upside, we didn't really have any 1 minute gaps in here. There's kind of this one, but not really because it's already wicked through. The other one would have been right up in here. You can see this. So you would have been able to take a long off of this, but not really because we would have gotten stopped out. So what I was looking at was on the 30 second and the 15 second. So again, market open is right here. There's not really anything. So I went all the way down to the 15 second until I could find a gap. So right here on the 15 second, we have this one right here. So 15 second gap that I was looking to take longs to target this high of day or high of morning draw. I don't want to necessarily target the wicks because this market's so dang choppy. And this also brings me right into, this gap I was mentioning earlier. Also into this gap. So it's like 2 different targets right there. So we can see that we did break out of the gap around 6:42, so 9:42 a.m. We did have a retracement off of it for around 43 points, so if you had a 44 or 45 point stop loss, you would have been good. Yeah, all this was a retracement back down to this, sweeping out liquidity into this area below to go higher. We can see it did hit both TPs, and at the same time, the market was trending, right? It was range bound, trending, sweeping out the draws, and at the very, very high up here, there was a 1 minute gap, right? So I was trying to just piece things together and figure out what the heck market wanted to do. So if I'm not seeing anything on the higher time frame, I'm just going to go down to lower time frame and try to see what is happening. And so once we hit first TP, we kind of swept down and then rebounded back to final TP, at least for me, into that 1 minute gap. And then we retraced back down again, tapped it a few more times before sweeping back down into whatever the heck this gap was that I marked out, which was the 15-second initial break, right? Finally, we ended up sweeping out this draw and back into the 4-hour gap, which is this draw of liquidity right here. I'll just go right here, boom, sweep that. And then we were kind of just bouncing around right here. Now just range bound between the two objectives. So hit TP. All right, now we're going to chop down. Try it again. Nope. And so this whole time that we're in this zone right here, price put in we put in a 5-minute gap right here. So price isn't really sure whether or not it wants to continue going high to take out data highs, or if it wants to sweep out these draws below, right? Come back down, take out these, maybe this down here. But yeah, the trade I took was that 15-second long on my previous evals until I blew them. How did I blow them? Why did that happen? Well, my accounts were at $50 to $100 and some odd dollars. I walked away from my computer, came back, and in the Discord they were looking at shorts, right? They were looking at shorts, and my initial bias was, long, because we're trending, we're range bound, and all that stuff. And especially with the market being the way it is right now, especially on the higher time frame, 4 hour, we were trending down for so long, and especially with all these red or black 4-hour candles, we finally came down and tapped into some liquidity down here. I would imagine there's going to be some bounce back, going long, just kind of like how we've previously done. We go down, tap into some liquidity, and we go up. Come down, take out liquidity, go up, boom, 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 boom. After all of this, downwards momentum, I would imagine we're going to start trending up. Yes, this huge, 900-point candle is a little spooky, but it's also coinciding with what Trump said. All that resting liquidity down there, new week opening gap got taken out. There was all of these draws, all of these draws, new week opening gap, draw, draw, draw. So it's just like stacked for it to pump up. But yep, lost my previous 3 accounts because I was being greedy. I was looking to pass my accounts today, and I over-leveraged, and I blew them. So that does happen. It happens often to new and experienced traders. Not saying I'm an experienced trader or anything, but it happens. And so what I did was I just quickly bought some new accounts because, and I caught a trade. I caught a decent short. I went in with 25 contracts. It was supposed to be 20, but is what it is. And we can go over the trade that I took. So the trade that I took for the short was let's see here. Was right in here. So like I said, we were range bound, we were trending. So we were trending up. I don't really use trend lines, I'm just using this as a visual representation. So we were trending, right? We had swept out this draw, which is also this draw. And what I did here was I used kind of like a wick box, right? So we had that. And then what I did was, okay, if we're gonna come back down to this sort of low right here, I'm gonna look for a short, because this move up right here was pretty dramatic, and usually price wants to retrace something like that, especially when it's like, you can see it right here, dramatic move up, move back down, dramatic move up, consolidation, move back down, and even now we're still dumping. And so the trade I took was I saw that we swept out liquidity right here. We were kind of chopping around. We wanted to break below this 15-minute or 15-second, 30-second, 1-minute gap. Again, I took it on the smaller time frame because the way price was moving. So there was a couple stacked gaps right here. Let me get rid of this one for you. Boom. Okay, so I got in at 653. So 653, which would be right there. That's right here. Right here. That is where I got in. Oh, let's make that a little different color. Okay, so I got in right here. So pretty much got it in on the break of the gap. This initial break was not good. It was a wick. So fake out, break, back to the upside to take out more liquidity, basically sweeping out the high right here. And then I took the break of this gap right here. Oops, to target lower. I was initially targeting, I believe, right here. Was that 2-3? No, 623. 2325. Yeah, so got out right in this area right here. So that would have been around, where's 2-3? Dang, I hate when the magnet's on. That shit low-key bugging. Yeah, 30-ish point trade. So yeah, that was the trade I took on these brand new 3 evals. So pretty much met that. I'm gonna try to trade these a little bit smarter, because lately I've just been more aggressive, and I'm just trying to coast it, and yeah, some of the main rules I have right here that I'm trying to read over way frequently is try not to oversize, especially, you know, to build habits, to build repetition, going into like a PA account, you know, down the line into a live account. We don't want to oversize, we don't want to over leverage, and we don't want to let the emotions get into play when it comes to, you know, taking a loss in the day. You know, slow and steady wins. We want base hits. Base hits matter. And it's funny I say that, because when I blew my accounts earlier this morning, I was up like $330 within the first whatever minutes of the morning. I saw a good setup, I took it, boom. And then, like, what's wrong with that? And then I got another setup, and then I was up like 650. And then I started to take a loss, and then I started to over leverage, and then I started getting greedy, and then what? And then here I am up $1,000. I was like, okay, why can't I walk away from this? And that's when I walked away. I came back, and I was like, oh, I only need X amount of money more to pass these accounts. Let me just enter in this trade real quick. But it was at that point where I think my contracts were at a fixed number and I was too focused on the chart rather than looking at the contracts. I was a little tilted. I was in a rush or something. I had entered in and it went against me rapidly and I got stopped out because I didn't have a stop loss in place and there was too many things going on. And so, yeah. All that being said is, follow your rules of base hits. We're not in a rush. Just if you win, if you lose, if it's $100, if it's $400, if you lost $200, it don't matter. Take it, walk away, come back tomorrow. We're not trying to reach a certain amount of money each day. No, that's not how it works. Take your trade, you walk away. Like even now on these brand new accounts. Yes, I was looking for $1,500 and I did take one trade, but it played out and that's cool. But yeah, all this being said is we fail, we learn from it, and we move on. So don't feel like you're not alone, because I've been doing this for 2 years now, and clearly I still over leverage and I blow accounts, but it's a part of the game. It's a part of the battle between you and yourself and your emotional state of mind. So, I mean, I can show you I get payouts, right? There's a few payouts right here. I have some on Apex and all that stuff. Here's one from this year, $2,300 last year, whatever. It don't matter. All that being said is just keep going. Listen to yourself. Listen to your intrusive thoughts. And yeah, don't feel like you need to be on the charts all day long, because the more you're on it, the more you're going to over leverage, the more you're going to see a fake setup. And then, yeah. All right, with all that being said, here's this if you want to screenshot it or read it or whatever. And deuces. I'll catch you guys tomorrow probably.